Hello students, my name is Samapti Sinha Mahabatra and I am the Zoology faculty in Sri Chaitanya Institute. Students, I was taking the chapter Chemical Coordination and Integration, and we have already discussed in the previous class about the first gland, that was hypothalamus. Today we are going to continue with the next part of this chapter. We are going to continue with the second gland, which is called as the pituitary glands. So let us look at some of the points regarding the pituitary gland. Students, this pituitary gland is also called as hypophysis. So the other name of pituitary gland is hypophysis. In the previous class, we made a diagram that was showing the connection of the hypothalamus with the pituitary gland, right? And there were two things. There was the connection with the anterior pituitary and there was the connection with the posterior pituitary. And we have discussed about one of the portal system that was called as hypophyseal portal system. I repeat again, that was called as hypophyseal portal system. So do you see a term that is called as hypophyseal? Why that is called as hypophyseal is because the pituitary gland is also called as the hypophysis, and that's why the name of the portal system was called as hypophyseal portal system. Alright, the origin of the pituitary gland is ectodermal. So the germ layer through which the pituitary gland is coming is ectoderm. That's why the origin of the pituitary gland is ectodermal. Now when we look at the location of the pituitary gland, I have written the location is sella turcica. Now what is this sella turcica? Students, this term is given in NCERT. In the chapter Locomotion and Movement, we all must have studied about some of the cranial bones, right? And there was a cranial bone which is sphenoid bone. The cranial bone, which is the sphenoid bone, in that sphenoid bone, there is a cavity which is called as sella turcica. In that bony cavity, there is the location of the pituitary gland. So the cavity of the sphenoid bone called as the sella turcica has our gland called as the pituitary gland. Okay, now I am saying that your pituitary gland is a master gland. The hypothalamus, which we discussed previously, was called as master of master gland, and this gland is called as the master gland. Why? Because this gland actually has a control on most of the glands of your body, which is why this gland is called as the master gland. The shape of the pituitary gland is pear shape. Okay, now coming to a next part of the pituitary gland is that pituitary gland is divided into two parts. It is divided into two parts. Now let us see some of the comparative of the two parts of the pituitary gland. So on this part, on this side of the board, I have written about the two parts of the pituitary gland. I have written in the differences form. The first part of the pituitary is called as the adenohypophysis. Hypophysis means your pituitary gland. First part is adenohypophysis and the other part is called as neurohypophysis. I have written that how much part is formed of adenohypophysis and how much part is contributed by neurohypophysis. So the adenohypophysis is the major portion of the pituitary, which is 75%, and the neurohypophysis is only 25%. Now students, let us look at the terms. When I am saying adenohypophysis, what does that mean? When I am saying adeno, it is having the word adeno. Hypophysis is having adeno. Adeno actually stands for the gland. And the epithelial gland. Why? Because during the embryonic development, we see that the adenohypophysis is actually developed from the epithelial tissue. The epithelial tissue of the pharynx. So actually the adenohypophysis is developed as a pouch or as a diverticulum, as a pouch, as an outgrowth or as a diverticulum from the pharyngeal epithelium, since it is developed as the outgrowth, as the pouch or as the diverticulum of the pharyngeal epithelium. That is why it is also, that pouch is also called as the Rethkes pouch. That pouch is also called as Rethkes pouch. Okay, so now anyone, if they ask you what is Rethkes pouch, you will be knowing that that is the outgrowth of the pharyngeal epithelium in which your adenohypophysis is located. Now looking at the name of neurohypophysis, it is having the term neuro. It is having the term neuro. So that is actually the neural tissue. And that is why its name is given as neurohypophysis. Clear? Now moving on to the next part. It's very easy that when you are saying adenohypophysis, it's surely the anterior pituitary, and when you are saying neurohypophysis, that's the posterior pituitary. Now, just like your pituitary gland had two divisions, in the same way, your adenohypophysis is further having two lobes, and your posterior pituitary is also having some lobes. Now, let us see what are the lobes of these two parts. When you look at the lobe of adenohypophysis, it is having two lobes. One is pars distalis and the other is pars intermedia. The first lobe is pars distalis and the other lobe is pars intermedia. Whereas when you look at the posterior pituitary or the neurohypophysis, it is only having one lobe which is called as pars nervosa. Clear? So, two lobes of anterior pituitary, one lobe of posterior pituitary. But students, pay attention. Pay attention to this point that when I say anterior pituitary, actually in humans, what happens is that pars intermedia is not that clearly separated. What happens is that pars intermedia is actually bit fused with the pars distalis. So in humans, we only say that all the hormones of anterior pituitary actually belongs to pars distalis because the pars intermedia is fused with pars distalis. Now students, we are going to move to the different hormones of the pituitary gland. Okay, now first of all, I am going to mention you the different hormones of the adenohypophysis, which is the anterior pituitary. So I have again, just like we did in previous gland hypothalamus, I have made certain columns. The first column is the name of the hormone, the second column is the target, and the third column is the function of the hormone, right? Now, the first hormone that we are going to discuss is very, very important, that is the growth hormone. Okay, now the growth hormone, students, growth hormone is also called as somatotrophin. What is the name? The other name is somatotrophin. Now, can you relate it with the other terms? In the hypothalamus, we mentioned two terms. One was somatocrinin and the other was called as somatostatin. Right? So, maybe they can frame a question like, what hormone is called as somatotrophin? What hormone is somatocrinin? So, somatocrinin was the other name of the growth hormone releasing hormone. The somatostatin was the other name of growth hormone inhibiting hormone. Whereas when you say somatotrophin, that is the other name of growth hormone. Students, actually, when you say trophin, trophin is actually, trophy means the growth, right? Now, let us look at the target. Most of the hormones of the pituitary gland, actually they have the target as other glands, right? Most of the hormones of the pituitary has the target as other glands. But what I have written as the target of the growth hormone is generalized body part. What is the generalized body part? Maybe they are acting on bones, maybe they are acting on cartilage, maybe they are acting on liver, and they are acting on muscles, like that, okay? So they have a generalized action, not a specific action. Now it has got different functions, students. Now since the name is suggesting that it's a growth hormone, so definitely it is going to cause the overall growth of the body, alright? It is going to cause the overall growth of the body. How is it going to cause beta overall growth of the body? Actually it may act upon liver, it may act upon muscles, it may act upon the bones, it may act upon the cartilage, it may act upon the other parts of the body, and then it is going to cause these cells to release certain factors which are called as insulin-like growth factors. What they are going to cause? They cause the release of insulin-like growth factors, and these insulin-like growth factors actually is going to cause the growth of the cell, right? Now, cells or tissues. Now, the second point is definitely it is going to cause the elongation of your bones. It is going to promote the elongation of the long bones. Next point, students have written that it is going to cause the protein anabolism. Now, when we say metabolism, metabolism is a sum total of anabolism and catabolism. Whenever we use the term catabolism, we say that it is the breakdown. Catabolism means the breakdown. But whenever I am using the term anabolism, that means the formation. Definitely when we are growing up, actually what is happening is the formation of the entire muscles in our body, right? The development of the overall growth of the body, and that is because it is not promoting the breakdown. What it is doing? It is doing the protein anabolism. So mark this as star mark, okay? Important point. It is going to cause the breakdown of fat or hydrolysis of fat during the growth phase. It is going to cause the protein formation, anabolism. The amino acids are going to get used by the cells and it is going to form the protein. But the fats are getting broken down, that is why hydrolysis of fat. Now, it is also known to have diabetogenic effect. Now, students, so I have said that this point is also important, and also this point is somewhat important because diabetogenic effect. Now whenever we are using the diabetes term, the diabetes term is actually related, you can say that your glucose concentration in the blood is increasing, right? So diabetogenic effect means it is actually going to act upon these, right, liver and muscles, and what it is going to cause? It is going to cause the reactions, the metabolic reactions, that is going to cause the release of the glucose in the blood. And once the blood has high amount of glucose, that is why it is having the diabetogenic effect. How can you relate it with insulin? Now questions can be asked that which hormone has somewhat opposite action to that of insulin. When I say the function of insulin, it is a hypoglycemic hormone. Why hypoglycemic hormone? Students, we are going to discuss this later, but just relate it. When I say hypo, it means less. When I say glycemic, that means the glucose, okay? So insulin has a role of decreasing the blood sugar level, but this has a diabetogenic effect, which means it promotes the blood glucose level. The last point I have written that it is going to promote the calcium absorption from your intestine. And students, definitely while growing, your bones are getting elongated, so you need a lot of calcium. That is the another function of the growth hormone. Okay, now let's look at some of the other hormones of the anterior pituitary. So the next hormone is MSH, which stands for melanocyte stimulating hormone. MSH stands for melanocyte stimulating hormone. Now students, I said that only the growth hormone has a generalized action, okay? But all other hormones, since the pituitary gland is called as the master gland, so definitely it is going to act upon the other glands or other cells and control their secretion. So as the name is suggesting, melanocyte, so the target is definitely the melanocytes. What are melanocytes, beta? When you look at your skin, we all have different colors, right? The different shades of the skin is because of the, different distribution of the melanin pigment. So when your melanocyte stimulating hormone acts upon the melanocytes, what it is doing? It is going to control the distribution of melanin. Now, this term you usually get confused with the other term, that is a hormone that we are going to discuss later, okay? That is melatonin. What is that term? Melatonin, okay? That's a hormone. That's a hormone of pineal gland. But here we are saying that this MSH is going to act upon the pituitary, and it is not the pituitary, sorry, it is going to act upon the melanocytes, and it is going to control the distribution of melanin pigment. Now look at the other hormone. This is PRL. PRL stands for prolactin. Now prolactin, students, is sometimes also called as LTH. It is also called as LTH. And what do you mean by LTH? LTH actually stands for luteotrophic hormone. It stands for luteotrophic hormone. Now, the target of the prolactin is on the mammary glands. Now, when it acts upon the mammary glands, what it is doing? It is going to cause the growth of the mammary glands during the pregnancy, okay? It is going to cause the growth of the mammary glands when? During the pregnancy. And it can also cause the secretion of the milk. What it is causing? The secretion of the milk after the childbirth. So, growth and secretion of the milk from the mammary glands. The next hormone is TSH, which is called as thyroid stimulating hormone, or it might be called as thyrotrophin, okay? So, the TSH has another name, which is thyrotrophin. It's very easy to know its target because its name is having thyroid. So, definitely the target is thyroid gland, okay? Now, when it acts upon thyroid gland, what it is going to cause? It is going to cause the growth and secretion, the growth and secretions from the thyroid gland. Moving on to the next hormone, which is ACTH. Now, ACTH stands for adrenocorticotropic hormone. What it is saying? Adrenocorticotropic hormone. Now, students, again you can look at the term itself and know its target. So, its name is having adrenocorti. That means it is going to act upon the adrenal gland, the glands which are located over the kidney. Now, when it acts upon adrenal gland, what it is going to cause? It is going to cause or maintain the growth and secretion from the adrenal cortex. Now, students, when I will be discussing about adrenal gland in the later classes, you will get to know that adrenal gland has two parts. One is cortex and one is medulla. But what I have written here is that ACTH has a direct control over the adrenal cortex, okay? And when we will discuss adrenal cortex, we'll get to know that there are different layers of adrenal cortex, okay? Different layers of adrenal cortex with different hormones. For now, just remember that it is going to act upon adrenal cortex and it is going to specifically control the release of the glucocorticoids. What are the glucocorticoids? That also we will discuss later. Just write it down here only. Glucocorticoids, that is the cortisol. That is the function of ACTH. To the next hormone, that hormone is FSH. This FSH stands for follicle stimulating hormone. Follicle stimulating hormone. Now, the target of FSH is gonads. When we talk about gonads in male, that gonad is the testis, and when we talk about the gonads in a female, that is called as ovaries. So, the target of FSH is gonads. Now, definitely it is going to have different function in a female and different function in a male. Students, also I would like to tell you these two hormones that I am going to discuss, these two hormones are very important. And why this becomes very important is because you will come across these hormones again in a chapter which is the human reproduction, okay? So, since in that chapter also you are going to come across this and there is a probability of questions coming from this part. So, both the hormones are very important. Now, looking at the function of the FSH, in females, it is going to cause the growth of the follicles. it is going to cause the growth of the follicles. Now, the name itself is suggesting, students, that follicle stimulating hormone. So, when you are going to study in detail about the menstrual cycle, you will see that in the ovary, females have certain follicles, and those follicles, on those follicles, this FSH is going to act, and it is going to cause the growth and development of those follicles. When you look at the males, what it is going to cause? It is going to cause the formation of sperms, and this formation of sperms is called as the entire process that you are going to study in detail. I am again saying in human reproduction, that is called as spermatogenesis. So that means FSH in females is going to cause the growth and development of the follicles, whereas FSH in a male is going to cause the promotion of spermatogenesis. Now, again, the second hormone. This hormone is LH. LH stands for luteinizing hormone. LH stands for luteinizing hormone. The target will be again same, that is the gonads. Gonads means testis in males and ovary in females. So, again having different effects. When in female, the luteinizing hormone is going to act. The luteinizing hormone, actually the name has luteinizing. So what it is doing, it is going to cause the rupture of the follicle. Now which follicle, student? For now, just remember, because you are coming across this term for the very first time, right? So just remember that when the luteinizing hormone acts upon the follicle, which is the most mature one, and that most mature follicle is called as Graafian follicle. So what happens that when it acts upon the most mature follicle, Graafian follicle, it breaks that. Okay, and when it is going to break the Graafian follicle, suppose the Graafian follicle looks like this, students, and you have the ovum or the oocyte inside this. So when this Graafian follicle gets broken down, what happens is the release of this oocyte, and when you release this oocyte or ovum, that process is called as ovulation. Got my point? What is happening? The luteinizing hormone is acting upon the Graafian follicle. What is this Graafian follicle? It is the mature follicle which is having this oocyte, and when it acts upon the Graafian follicle, your oocyte is released, that causes ovulation. But I have written another point that it causes the formation of corpus luteum. What it is causing? The formation of corpus luteum. This is actually a yellowish body. This is a yellowish body. And what is this yellowish body? Students, when this Graafian follicle is breaking, this oocyte is definitely released, and the remaining of the Graafian follicle, forms this yellowish body which is called as corpus luteum. Clear? Now, the males, luteinizing hormone in males is having a different name, and that name is ICSH. ICSH stands for interstitial cell stimulating hormone. It stands for interstitial cell stimulating hormone. Why is it called as interstitial cell stimulating hormone? It's because of the target. When you look at the interstitial cell stimulating hormone, the target is actually the Leydig cells, and the other name of Leydig cell is also interstitial cell. The other name of the Leydig cells is also called as interstitial cells, and when it is going to act upon the interstitial cells, what is happening? It is going to cause the release of the male hormone, which is androgen, right? So LH, also called as interstitial cell stimulating hormone in males, and it is going to act upon the interstitial cells or the Leydig cells, and it is going to cause the release of the testosterone or androgen. Do not get confused between the different function of FSH and LH in males and females. I am again briefing it. FSH in male causes spermatogenesis, but LH in male causes the release of testosterone. FSH in females causes the development of the follicles, but LH in females causes ovulation and formation of corpus luteum. We have discussed the different hormones of the adenohypophysis, which is anterior pituitary. Now I want all of you to just make a point regarding one hormone, that is MSH, or melanocyte stimulating hormone. Why am I saying this? Is because, students, we know that your anterior pituitary had two lobes. One was the pars distalis and other was the pars intermedia. Now, if you are asked that the MSH, the melanocyte stimulating hormone, this is the hormone of pars distalis or pars intermedia? Actually, when you talk about all other animals except in humans, MSH is the only hormone of the pars intermedia. It is the only hormone of pars intermedia. All the other hormones belong to the lobe pars distalis. But since we know now that the pars distalis in humans is, the pars intermedia in humans is almost fused with the pars distalis. So in humans, all the hormones belongs to pars distalis. But if you are asked that which is the only hormone of pars intermedia, that would be MSH. So just make a note of this. Now, students, we are left with the hormones of the neurohypophysis and the different disorders related with the pituitary gland. So, we are going to start with this topic in the next class. Thank you all of you. Take care and bye-bye.